Hello everybody out there, my name is Jerry V. I'm here at the beautiful Lucero Library here in wonderful Pueblo, Colorado. The Lucero Library team is going to do something fun for you guys. We're going to be something called a Tales from the Stacks series. So we're going to each be able to read you guys portions of different items or different materials we pull from the stacks. So you'll get to hear a little bit of different things here and there from your friends here at the Lucero Library. We're going to start this series off with The Adventures of Captain Underpants, now and in full color. I'd like to thank Dav Pilkey and Scholastic Publishers for allowing us to bring you this material this time. So thank you, and here we go with Chapter 1. Chapter 1, George and Harold. Meet George Beard and Harold Hutchins. George is the kid on the left with the tie and the flat top. Harold is the one on the right with the t-shirt and the bad haircut. Remember that. George and Harold were best friends. They had a lot in common. They lived right next door to each other, and they were both in the same 4th grade class at Jerome Horwitz Elementary School. George and Harold were usually responsible kids. Whenever anything went bad, George and Harold were usually responsible. What they did here. But don't get the wrong idea about these two. George and Harold were actually very nice boys. No matter what anybody else thought, they were good, sweet, and lovable. Well, okay, maybe they weren't so sweet and lovable, but they were good nonetheless. Just that George and Harold each had a silly streak, a mile long. Usually that silly streak was hard to control. Sometimes it got them into trouble. And once it got them into big trouble. But before I could tell you that story, I have to tell you this story. Chapter 2, The Treehouse Comics, Inc. After a hard day of cracking jokes, pulling pranks, and causing mayhem at school, George and Harold liked to run to the old treehouse in George's backyard. Inside the treehouse were 2 big, old, fluffy chairs, a table, a cupboard crammed with junk food, and a padlock crate filled with pencils, pens, and stacks of paper. Now, Harold loved to draw, and George loved to make up stories, and together, the 2 boys spent hours and hours writing and drawing their very own comic books. Over the years, they had created hundreds of their own comics, starring dozens of their own superheroes. First, there was Dogman, and then came Timmy the Talking Toilet. And who could forget the Amazing Cow Lady? But the all-time greatest superhero they ever made up had to be Captain Underpants. George came up with the idea. Most superheroes look like they were flying around in their underwear, he said. Well, this guy is flying around in his underwear. The 2 boys laughed and laughed. Yeah, said Harold, he could fly with wedgie power. And Harold spent the entire afternoon writing and drawing the comics and adventures of Captain Underpants. He was their coolest superhero ever. Luckily for the boys, the security at Jerome Horwitz Elementary School was much too busy to keep an eye on the copy machine. So whenever they got a chance, Harold and George would sneak into the office and run off several hundred copies of their latest Captain Underpants adventure. After school, they sold their homemade copies on the playground for 50 cents each. Thank you guys for having some time with me. We will see you guys on the next installment. We'll see you from your friends here at the library with the Tales from the Stacks. Bye.